Ever since I moved into Maple Grove Estetisa neighborhood that sounded more like a cozy retreat than a hotbed of drama, I had one simple ambition: to grow the biggest pumpkin this county fair had ever seen. I wasn't aiming to become a gardening icon, I just wanted a wholesome pastime to fill my weekends. Little did I know, that innocent hobby would turn me into public enemy number one. Across the street, hidden behind a flawlessly manicured hedge and a perpetually sour expression, lived Linda Harper, VYC president of the HOA and self-proclaimed guardian of suburban perfection. She had an irrational hatred for anything that didn't fit her Instagram-worthy VY shown of the neighborhood: no quirky yard art, no cheerful wind chimes, and certainly no monstrously oversized produce, as she once described my prized pumpkin in an official HOA email. It started subtly, as every Linda invasion does. Passive-aggressive notes slipped into my mailbox, cautioning me about excessive agricultural displays. Then came the official HOA violation notice: unauthorized horticultural exhibit exceeding 2.5 feet in radius. I chuckled at the absurdity. It was a pumpkin, not a biohazard, but Linda didn't take kindly to being laughed off, especially since her own marigolds kept wilting, probably in rebellion, and she was on her fifth failed bid for yard of the month. Things escalated when she called a surprise HOA inspection at 7:45 a.m. on a Sunday, clearly timed to catch me bleary-eyed and my pumpkin in all its defiant glory. She dragged along two board members who seemed more focused on their donuts than my garden. Still, Linda marched around my yard like she was leading a sting operation, declaring, "This violates code 4.17b, subsection green," clipboard clutched tightly, lips puckered as if she'd bitten into a sour grape. I fired back, citing the exact bylaws on garden decor, which, surprise, said nothing about vegetables, complete with my laminated copy. She didn't appreciate my HOA rulebook savvy. From there it got bizarre. My hose was mysteriously cut, my compost bin tipped over, and a single marigold appeared in the center of my lawn, her signature, I presumed. Each time I mentioned it, she brushed me off with a smug, "You must be mistaken." Yet my pumpkin flourished, swelling into a magnificent orange giant that could have starred in a storybook. It became a local sensation. People snapped selfies with it, kids nicknamed it Pumpkazoid, and every compliment it earned made Linda twitch behind her curtains, likely plotting its demise with weed killer and a grudge. I decided to counter her sneaky tactics with some stealth of my own. I set up a motion-activated Scarecrow camera disguised as a Halloween decoration but packing a 4K wide-angle lens and night voice sound. I dubbed him Rusty and positioned him to guard my pumpkin. I didn't expect to catch much, it was mostly to ease my suspicions. Meanwhile, Linda ramped up her campaign, spreading rumors that my pumpkin was luring raccoons, tanking property values, and me favorite, promoting horticultural rebellion. Someone even posted that gem on next door, I should have framed it. Her meltdown peaked when the local paper ran a Fall Harvest Heroes piece featuring me grinning beside Pumpkazoid, with Linda VY Seibel in the background, mid-rake scowl. It was pure gold in her breaking point. That week my pumpkin started to droop. First, a faint discoloration near the stem, then soft patches, and finally a sharp chemical stench that didn't belong in a garden. I knew something was off. I snipped a sample and sent it to a friend in agricultural science. 2 days later, the verdict: glyphosate poisoning and herbicide banned near edible crops without notice. My stomach sank. Someone had sabotaged my pumpkin, and only one person in Maple Grove Estates was petty enough to play dirty while pretending to be the picture of floral viruto. I turned to Rusty's footage. After sifting through 4 nights of nothing, I hit pay dirt. At 2:17 a.m. on Thursday, there was Linda, bathrobe and all, wielding a spray bottle and flashlight. She crouched, doused my pumpkin's base, adjusted her hair rollers, and shuffled off like a cartoon crook. The EVY Denke was crystal clear: me pumpkin didn't just die, it was assassinated. Armed with VY Deo proof and a burning sense of justice, I stormed into the next HOA meeting, held in the bland clubhouse with its folding chairs, stale coffee, and forced politeness. Linda, perched at the table's head like a suburban tyrant, was railing against Halloween decorations when I barged in, laptop tucked under my arm, ready to unleash chaos. "If you're done policing plastic ghosts," I cut in, "the board needs to see this." Her smug grin vanished as I pressed play. There she was, caught in infrared, poisoning my pumpkin with the finesse of a raccoon in rollers. The room went dead quiet, save for a faint gasp from Ted, the treasurer, who probably realized the HOA might be on the hook. Linda's defense was bold: That could be anyone, she huffed, despite her monogram gardening gloves waviwaying in the frame. It's a deep fake, she insisted, as if she knew tech beyond her email password. You think I'd sneak out at 2 a.m. in a robe to sabotage a vegetable? Yes, I replied flatly as nods rippled through the board. The HOA president, Griga guy who'd rather be golfing than playing peacemaker, tried to stay neutral. Let's not rush to judgment, he said, hands raised like he was calming a pack of feral cats. But Linda's guilt hung thick in the air. She flipped the script, claiming my camera broke surveillance rules it didn't, and demanding I be fined for spying. That sparked a ridiculous debate about Scarecrow, right? She even called Rusty a weaponized art figure. When that flopped, she pivoted to tears, blaming stress, seasonal affective disorder, and a bad reaction to her eco-friendly shampoo. One board member suggested she step back temporarily, and Linda lost it, slamming the table, spilling her pumpkin spice latte, and shouting, "This is a witch hunt." The irony wasn't lost on anyone, given she'd been the one poisoning crops like a storybook VY lane. The tide turned fast. Neighbors murmured, Ted whispered to Greg. If she did that to a pumpkin, what's she dumping in the shared compost? Then came the bombshell. Mrs. Ortiz, a quiet widow with ninja-like subtlety, stood up with her tablet. This isn't Linda's first midnight run, she said, unveiling bird cam footage of Linda snipping her rose bushes 2 weeks earlier, another illegal act. The floodgates opened. Neighbors chimed in, dead shrubs, missing solar lights, and sign finds. Linda's web of petty tyranny unraveled. Someone dug up an anonymous next-door ranch she'd posted about, radical veggie growers threatening the neighborhood's moral core. It was too wild to invent. Cornered, Linda cried cyberbullying by gardening radicals, but no one bought it. Greg called an emergency vote to suspend her HOA powers pending re-VYEW. She stormed out before the unanimous tally, hissing that pumpkin people, like me, would ruin everything. The next morning, she launched a counterattack, flyers in mailboxes claiming I'd doctored the footage, casting herself as a VY Tim of a pro-organic conspiracy. She posted on the HOA Facebook group that I'd poisoned my own pumpkin to frame her. My inbox exploded, half support, half suspicion about what I was really growing. Chaos reigned, and though I savored the win, I knew Linda was plotting her next move. After her public meltdown and suspension, you'd think Linda would retreat to lick her wounds. No, her superpower was relentless spite. Within days, she was back, patrolling in oversized sunglasses, scribbling fake notes on a clipboard, waiting for me to slip up. My trash can tipped over on still days, weed killer edged my squash bed, and once I found an HOA stake stabbed into my lawn like she was claiming it for Queen Linda. She ditched subtlety for open warfare. So I upgraded Rusty to Rusty 2.0 thermal imaging, two-way audio, and phone alerts. I added a second cam in a hollow garden gnome, Milo the Sentry, for backup. My plan? Lure her into another stunt, but this time, catch her in a spectacle. I planted a decoy, a foam pumpkin, painted to perfection, rigged with dye and glitter to burst on tampering. I called it Project Sparkle Squash and spread rumors about a rare hybrid seed I'd ordered, guaranteed to shatter records. Linda, the plant-obsessed meddler, bit hard, issuing a fake newsletter about dangerous foreign flora. I played dumb, tending my fake gourd with devotion, even adding a do not touch, experimental, catnip for her rule-breaking soul. Sure enough, at 2:03 a.m. Rusty pinged me. Thermal imaging showed her creeping up, poking the pumpkin with her rake, then boom, glitter erupted. She yelped, flailed into the bushes, and fled, sparkling like a disco diva. Milo caught it all in glorious detail. I posted the clip to the neighborhood forum. When you sabotage a garden but end up fabulous. It blew up in hours. Greg even commented, 10 out of 10 glitter spread, would sabotage again. Linda's response? A cease and desist for digital entrapment via malicious decor, which the HOA lawyer shot down with a curt nice try. She held a press conference, yelling at cars from her driveway, calling me a horticultural terrorist with spyware. The local paper ran with it. Scarecrow cam nabs glittery garden saboteur and HOA feud gone wild. Tourists drove by to see the glitter scene, but Linda dug in, filing an HOA appeal over emotional damage from festive surveillance. The board rejected it twice and launched a probe into her tenure, misused funds, fake fines, the works. I became a folk hero. Neighbors left mini pumpkins in solidarity. Linda's empire was cracking, and the real blow was yet to come. The glitter fiasco didn't just humiliate Linda, it exposed her rot. Whispers turned into tips. A receipt for Dula 320 in mulch aesthetics, billed to the HOA. A photo of her cousin Tim, overpaid landscaper, blowing leaves onto lawns, a dossier dubbed Linda Gate. I dug deeper with my cousin Mia, a forensic accountant. She found a shell company, Verdant Peace LLC, tied to Linda siphoning HOA cash via fake beautification fees. She'd been paying herself to enforce her own fines for years. We handed it to Greg, who aged VY Sibley on the spot and called an emergency meeting tagged possible criminal acti VY tie. Linda strutted in, all bluster and blazers, but Mia dropped a binder of proof duplicate charges, ghost vendors, a secret account. Linda screeched gardening propaganda, but the HOA lawyer's letter shut her down, investigation pending, all access revoked. She flipped, spilling scones and screaming, "I built this place," then tripped into a cider crockpot, emerging glazed and unglued. A teen's VY Deo, Linda's fall harvest, went VY Ral. The audit deepened, forged signatures from dead board members, buried docs unearthed by new nurse's stash including Linda's, Maple Grove Purity Plan, a dystopian scheme for paint bans and style patrols. Her charges piled up: fraud, forgery, perjury. The neighborhood bloomed in her absence: gnomes, edible gardens, a fall Liberty Fest where I reigned as pumpkin marshal. Linda's house sold, her legacy composted. 6 months later, her trial sealed it. Guilty, 18 months probation, 500 hours at the community garden she despised, planting pumpkins in a vest reading, HOA restoration volunteer. The garden became Pumpkazoid Park, and as she faded to Arizona obscurity, we thrive, proof that sometimes a pumpkin outshines a tyrant.